So I wanted to hop on here and do a video specifically about selling over the phone and what can be done to lower sales resistance and improve your ability to have meaningful conversations with prospects and effectively solve more problems, leading to closing more sales. So a lot of things to unpack here. This is kind of something that I personally have made a really big shift in over the last few weeks in my own business, in my own day-to-day, because I've been selling, for many years over the phone. Don't have the ability always to meet customers face to face. We're doing business all over America and some places globally. And depending on the journey of the prospect, the lead, shall we say, up to the point of human engagement, there's levels of belief, there's levels of credibility that's been built up. Maybe some objections have been handled prior, maybe some haven't. But either way, whenever you're calling somebody on the phone, it's still in many ways a cold call. And what I mean by a cold call, I don't mean level of lead, how warm or cold the lead is. I'm talking about you're going from an interruption to an interaction. Objectively, that's what you're trying to do. You're interrupting somebody's day, unless it's a booked appointment, of course. I'm just talking about leads that have responded perhaps to some advertisement. You're calling them and you're interrupting their day, and then you're trying to move into an interaction to figure out whether you can help this person. So I've primarily been in a business that I would say, 99% of it, from the companies that I've worked for and the peers that I know in other companies, they're still doing things very much from a perspective of an old boiler room type sales machine. What I mean by that is there's wherever the leads have come from. Typically, these companies are structured where they have a junior account executive calling the leads, qualifying the leads, and then forcing them through, for the most part. Some are better than others at doing this and selling the value to talk to somebody else, but they're pushing them onto a senior closer, if you will, who's, the big swinging dick, comes in and closes somebody. Well, I don't know about you, that doesn't sit well with me. It's been, something that's kind of maybe a black cloud that's been over me for the last several years. And in the sense of knowing that I need to change that experience for the customer, because when you're the senior, which is the position that I hold, you're the guy that is having that conversation of where the rubber meets the road. If your first interaction with somebody is a feeling of them not wanting to be on the phone, a feeling of high level of sales resistance just because of the process and the way they've been pushed through and for the phone calls been flipped, it's a real difficult place to come back from for the most part. And you're limiting the quality of conversations you can have. You can still, get deals done that way, but think about the pool of people that you turned off just because of that process itself. Because ultimately, we are in a world where we're at a stage where, in terms of trust from a salesman's perspective, salespeople are viewed, I read an article, I can't remember where the article was from, but I read an article pretty recently about how low of a level of trust that consumers have with salespeople. It was, one of the lowest things out there. It's scary to think. So when you're getting put into that box straight away, you've got to make sure that your sales process, your marketing, the whole journey from A to Z is going to be counterproductive for you. So you're going to be productive for you to be able to have an environment where you can have a quality conversation with somebody. And in essence, when you're selling over the phone, you're limited to what you can do. So what I've realized is people do not want to be pitched. People want to be listened to, they want to be heard, and they want to be understood. And it all comes back to, this whole experience of salespeople. And, not to unpack Pandora's box here, but the fact that you have an industry that has no base level of training. You can get a sales job tomorrow. You can be given, a scalpel, if you will, and you're allowed to go out there and perform open heart surgery without any training. It's crazy considering the amount of potential income can be earned in sales, and you can outperform doctors. You can outperform, people that have spent 10, 15 years in medical school or university. But it's still, I think that's something that needs to be worked upon, and that's perhaps some certification to become a salesperson, somebody that's trained in that skill set of, knowing how to skillfully question somebody to uncover if there's even a need in the first place, then knowing how to present that and doing that collaboratively where the customer actually gets the experience of them making the decisions for themselves, because ultimately that's what should be happening. So again, that's a whole nother thing, a whole nother conversation. But if you want to differentiate yourself on a phone call with somebody, number one, I think the first thing that you can do is fix a problem in terms of is getting somebody in an environment where they are open and willing to have a conversation, right? So if somebody doesn't want to, or that's been forced upon them and they've been hijacked in many ways to have that conversation, you're very limited in how far you can take that conversation. There's no control. And when I mean control, I don't mean aggressive control. I just mean an environment where you can control the frame, you can present the value of the time spent on the conversation and the outcome of what we can both expect within that interaction. So what I've decided to do is make a real big shift and figure out, how can I differentiate myself in my business specifically? I'm talking to retirees, or not just retirees, but anybody that has concern, that has their money in paper assets and has concern over the next 5 to 7 years and beyond of the value of their dollars, the value of their savings. Will it be there? Will it be able to buy them the same goods and services, afford the same standard of living that they have today in 5, 10, 15 years to come? These are the typical customer that we are helping figure out whether gold is a good fit for them. So in essence, we're doing business all over the United States, and we don't have the ability to meet everybody face to face. So this is typically done over a conversation, a couple of phone calls, and then you're asking people to move, in some cases, 7 figures of their life savings. It depends on the person, but we're moving anywhere from $25,000 for somebody north of 7 figures. And to do that in a phone call, it happens. Absolutely, it happens. There's a whole industry that does it. But like I say, more often than not, most people lose trust in the sales person they're talking to, or maybe just don't feel comfortable enough to move forward. So I see that as opportunity personally, and I feel that there's a lot of opportunity, and I feel that a lot of it is getting created by the sales process itself and that level of engagement. And what can be done is my question to myself to make it a better experience, to build the credibility, to get a good human connection with somebody so that they know who they're doing business with. So one of the big things that I've started to work on is working on using third-party resources, using information that's out there in the economy for all of us to see, so that we can collectively walk through that together, versus me just telling somebody that. I found that it's more powerful to use visuals. Now, this isn't something new. Information selling has been around for a long time. Grant Cardone was a pioneer of it in the early days of using information and selling alongside a conversation. So, we've spent some time over the last few weeks really building a presentation with some powerful information and facts that are out there and things that are going on in the economy to walk through with a customer of ours, or prospect, should I say, who is considering buying gold, which is what I sell, and silver for retirement purposes, for preservation purposes. So for me, I've gone ahead and I figured, okay, number one, let me meet these people. So I do a video call with the customer, with the prospect. They get to meet me. They don't necessarily have to have their camera on. Some people aren't comfortable with that. But for me, why we're such big fans of doing the video call is it gives them the ability to see who they're potentially going to do business with, to get to meet them face to face, if you will, see the whites of their eyes, Another part to that is once they buy into that consultation, you're in an environment where you can have a more engaging, more impactful conversation. They're more open to tell you the information that you need to figure out whether there's even a problem in the first place, and whether or not gold and silver is a good fit for them to help improve their situation from where they are today, their current situation, their pains, their concerns, to the desired situation. Some people don't even know that. Part of that journey is to help self-educate. And if precious metals and gold and silver, physical metals, can bridge that gap for them, great. Then we obviously talk about doing business and move forward. But I just wanted to kind of really put it out there that there's lots of different ways you've got to differentiate. And right now there's an opportunity in my industry specifically that I see that there's some companies doing it this way and have done it that way, and they're very successful at doing it. But also, it's from a salesperson's perspective, it's far more enjoyable and easy, should I say? And I'm not talking about closing percentage. I'm talking about your energy, for you to sit there throughout the day and have 6 to 8 appointments on your calendar, and for you to be in control of that calendar, versus being in an office full of people who are making cold calls, qualifying people, and then you're sitting there and they're pushing them through for you to take a call, hoping you can help this person who may be driving their car, maybe up a ladder, maybe not even in the right environment. So there's some struggles or some challenges, some speed humps that I felt needed taking out. And I felt these were things that we could control as a sales organization, as salesmen. So that was what I've done in the last couple of months, is changed that dramatically, and made a full commitment to really buy in and change this focus to give me the ability to differentiate, right? To differentiate from the other people in the market who simply won't do this for whatever reason. Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, all interactions are done this way. And we see a shift to that pattern for sure. But anyhow, for me, I felt like this was a really good opportunity, specifically in this industry, to do that, to take advantage of it, to differentiate yourself, and more importantly, to have more meaningful conversations where your state is managed, your energy levels are up, because the other way is quite frankly draining on the energy. And for the most part, you could have the best product or service, and you're pitching to the wrong person because of the way it's set up. So anyway, with all that said, when it comes to using information, there's another part to it, right? There's obviously what I'm just talking about is maybe people that have opted in from various different sources. It could have been a keyword search on Google. It could have been an affiliate website where it's a synergistic product or topic. Somebody's seen an ad, a banner, clicked on it, gone to a landing page, opted their details in. All of a sudden, they're getting called from one of the sales organizations, the juniors, trying to call them. So however they've got there, there's another step to that, right? This is really aimed at, if you've got a team of quality salespeople, people that can actually really have those high-level conversations, uncover that need, and really solve the problem. Well, do you really want those people spending time double qualifying and getting people that aren't really at that stage? So good marketing, and this is a point about marketing really, good marketing is about creating that and doing that job before that consultant gets on and has that conversation. So the better you can get at doing that before, let's call it the pre-frame stage, the better those conversations go and the better results you have, right? So then it becomes a matter of quality over quantity. And like I said, I've come from an industry and multiple companies that are really based on quality over quantity. And it's just inherently something I disagree with. So hence where I'm at right now. And what I want to talk about there is the VSL, the video sales letter, right? And look, I'm no expert in the video sales letter. I'm just talking about me understanding and being a consumer that's gone through that and realized that when I've bought something and I've paid for a service and I've invested in multiple things from, one-on-one coaching, sales training, business related stuff, peak performance stuff, diet, exercise, whatever it may be. when I've got onto that conversation, I've been ready to buy. I am the right type of person that organization would want. I'm the targeted demographic because of how I've gone through. I've engaged with content. I've seen the brand that I'm talking to. There's a level of credibility they have with me before I get onto that, talking from a point of view of me being the consumer. And in essence, I'm ready to buy if they can show me that their product or service is going to move me from where I am today to where I want to get to, and the cost of inaction, the cost of me continuing with the status quo is more painful than me parting with my hard-earned money, right? So I've been, messing around with this video sales letter, and I'd always really be interested. Maybe we can find somebody that's an expert in the VSL, that sales funnel marketing side of it. Maybe they can come on the podcast and we can interview them, figure out some of their tips, tricks, strategies behind that. But I think if you can get, your data, however you generate it in the first place, you can push it through to that extra step. And this is what I've not seen done in my industry, is get that extra step in place. We can have a much better pool of prospects that are more willing and open to have that conversation. And when you get there, your percentage rates will increase. You can solve more problems. You can close more deals that way, because it doesn't matter how good you are, how good your product, your service is, without being in front of the right people who can buy, who can move forward, you're just not going to get the results, right? You're going to be busy. You're going to be a very busy, stressed out salesperson. So yeah, I think the VSL is something we're diving into, and I'd love to know. Obviously, my part to that is there's an element of advertising, storytelling, human behavior, psychology that goes into these video sales letters. And I think we've seen some. I'm not talking about the webinar that seems to go the same way, right? It goes over the social proof, it goes over the pains, the problems, the hook. You get in and stay to the end, there's an offer, all that good stuff. Talking about a small VSL that lasts maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and it gets the customer more primed for that conversation, and there's an extra layer of qualification that goes on. And it's a mini, in essence, it's a mini presentation, a pre-presentation of what you're going to be discussing. But what it does for you as the salesperson is it primes them. It can certainly deal with a lot of the unspoken objections that come up in a sales environment, a sales engagement. And that, to me, is the power of good marketing and the power of a good process, is it's going to take away a lot of that stuff that you simply can't do on a phone call. Now, my job as the sales guy is to absolutely spend enough quality time in discovery, okay? And if you can get really good in discovery and pulling out the situation, the pain, the problems, and really bridging that gap from where they are today to where they want to get to, and positioning yourself as the bridge across that gap, well, then that's where you actually get less objections when you get down to the final part. It's not really about having a magical close. I don't really believe in that. I believe it's an accumulation of every engagement, from that first opt-in from the lead to the VSL, or to the first phone call if you use appointment setters. It's a position that we're building into our business. We're getting rid of the junior account executive position, and we are moving more towards appointment setters onto to the specialist, onto the consultant. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, probably for another video. But if you can get really good at those parts of the funnel and the journey for the prospect, well, then those sales conversations, like I say, they become enjoyable. They don't become a battle between you and the customer, and that's not what it should be, and that's what is going on still today. But I think the organizations, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in, the organizations that are really moving forward leaps and bounds are the ones that are getting that right. And I do think that's a better experience for everybody all around, the salespeople, the customer, and it's going to give everybody more ability to move forward and get these problems solved. So just wanted to do a video on that topic. And there's a lot of layers in there, and you could probably go off in 10 different directions to specific sub-contexts, the sub-conversations within those things, from marketing to leads, to lead gen, to sales copy, to VSLs, to retargeting, to all that good stuff. But for me, I just wanted to talk about, maybe shifting from the old, moving into the new. These things don't necessarily happen overnight, but when you've been on the phone for 25 years and you've called strangers for 25 years and you've seen the progression from, real cold calling, name on a sheet, to email responders, to, most of the leads now there's been something that's happened before. But whenever you're calling somebody and they're not expecting a phone call, it's not a booked appointment, you're interrupting them. Okay. So when you're interrupting somebody, there's always going to be levels of sales resistance that come up, because consumers have a knee-jerk reaction to salespeople. Then there's a whole nother level of how good somebody is in terms of their scripting, their tonality, the questions to actually help themselves disarm the prospect and get into a space where they can have a better conversation to qualify. Again, plenty of layers, but we'll keep doing the videos. We'll keep unpacking all this stuff. And I just wanted to get on there and film this, because this was on top of my mind, because I'm in it at the moment. I'm in the trenches. I'm doing that shift myself in my own business, and wanted to share something out there and perhaps get some engagement here. See if we can figure out, like I say, maybe if any of you out there are marketing specialists, copywriting specialists, webinar creation people, get in touch with us. We'd love to speak to you.